Okay, all right. So welcome to our level 2 Gita Gyan, Essence of the Bhagavad Gita. And today we are, okay, before we go to the topic, let me just go through the pranam mantras. Join me if you can. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurumilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Sri Guru Vaishnavam Sri Rupam Sagrajadam Sahagana Raghunathan Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhanvitam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vigna Vinasha Narasimha Iti Namane Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangam Langayatim Girim Yatkripa Tamaham Vande Sri Guru Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Sri Chaitanyam Ishwaram Om Tat Sat Hare Krishna. So Hare Krishna, everybody. So welcome to this Gita Gyan session. So today we are going to have a special topic, and this topic is entitled Karma, the law of karma, right? So why we are talking about this is because this is a common question asked by many people, usually during the Gita Gyan sessions for level 1, and we have promised you that we will address them in level 2. So it's going to be a 2-part session. So the first part is today, and we will have another session next week to continue and complete the karma session. So if you can look around us, this material world, especially nowadays with the COVID and all, we can see that it's not really a very, very happy place. There are people who are happy and there are people who are not. And you will find that a lot of people in the world actually are going through a lot of difficult times. So you can see nearly 500 million of the world's population are born into poverty. That means about 500,000 people are going through poverty, and this is a yearly statistic. So malnutrition, hunger, this is yearly going on. And usually this is not brought into media attention so much because it usually doesn't affect the governments, and it doesn't affect the economy. So this is a lot of other problems are also there in this world. So besides this, we also look around us. We find that the world is full of disparities. Disparities here means that that there are people who are wealthy, there are people who are born into poverty, there are people who are born good looking, beautiful, healthy, whereas there are people who are born in not so conducive environments and situations. We have people who are, they have it all, born with a silver spoon, like they say. And there are also many people who are torn by war, by pandemic, by disease, by different types of family problems, strife, personal problems, and so forth. So sometimes when the reversals happen, we could say that it's not always been like that. Why it may happen now due to some mistakes that we have done or whatever. But what about people who are born into this, right? So this is where most religions in the world, they cannot really explain why. Because sometimes for adults and all, they will say, it's God's test for us. So they want to see how we are enduring in that test. Or you could say God's punishment for mistakes that we have done. But what about children who are born into this situation? Children who are born deformed, children who are born with AIDS, children who die within the first year, 2 years. So how do we explain that? So this is where the Vedic scriptures score big time, that they are able to give a full explanation of why this happens very clearly, systematically. So why do bad things happen to good people? So, and vice versa. So why do good things happen to bad people? So usually we can understand when bad things happen to bad people, or we can accept it when good things happen to good people. But what actually is good and what actually is bad? From whose perspective do we define good or bad, right? So some of these questions need to be explored for us to fully understand why so-called bad things happen to good people. So why? And when we, especially when we see disparities like this happening around us, so then people with not so very strong faith may question, right? They may ask, is God partial to some? Why are some people better off? Is there some partiality that God has? But then when we read scripture sometimes, like example in Bhagavad Gita, there is this verse, Samoaham sarva bhuteshu. Sama, aham, me, I am equal, sama, to all living entities. So Krishna says, I'm equal to everyone. Bhagavad Gita 9:29. So how to understand this then? It looks like apparent inconsistency. He's equal to all, but we don't see everybody having the same situations, everybody having the same facilities. So how do we understand this? So just like in a law court, we go to, if you see courtroom, right, we will see there will be a judge, and then we will see there will be a convict, a person who is convicted of a crime or something like that. And then we will have lawyers, and we also will have juries and things like that. So basically, after the entire proceedings has gone through, right, what will the judge do? The judge will make a decision, right? Now, does the judge know the convict? He will not know the convict. They would have never had met each other before, right? And also the convict would have, if the convict is proven guilty, then he would be awarded by this judge punishment suitable of his crime, right? Either a fine or imprisonment, or the death penalty or something like that, according to the crime. Similarly, the same judge also, he may award another person monetary benefits, especially if the person is deemed innocent, or if the person has won a case against another person. So they are given a lot of money or something like that in compensation. So then we will say, oh, this judge, he's giving one person. You can see the picture. Judge is supposed to represent justice, and justice is equal, supposed to be equal, right? Justice is supposed to be blind. But then we see this judge is giving out harsh punishment to one person, and then he's giving a lot of benefits to another person. So how is this judge fair? So is he equal? So in this way, we can try to understand, is the judge partial? So obviously we will know the judge is not partial. The judge is fair, at least presumably he should be. So the judge is not partial. Why? Because he is simply following the law. So according to the law is there and it's established for everybody in the land to follow. So those who follow the law, they are glorified, they are given positions, and they are, presumably they are rewarded. So just like in school also, if you go to school, sometimes those days we used to have the demerit system. So the children who do well in school, they earn merits. So it's like points. They get merit points, and those who do badly, they get demerit points. So the merit points will earn them honors and facilities and position, whereas the demerit points will give them punishment, land them in trouble, that kind of thing. So in the same way, the teacher is not partial and the judge is also not partial, right? So nature is said to be the cause. So we understand in law, in the court of law, we have legal law, the law of the land. So what about human beings? What about all of us living in this material world? What is the law of the land? So then Krishna says in chapter 13:21, nature is said to be the cause of all material causes. What is nature here? Nature is prakriti, material energy. So in this material world, the material energy has a set of laws to follow, right? It's said to be the cause of all, and these laws are set down by the Lord of this energy, right? Krishna being the Lord of the material energy, the Lord of Prakriti, he defines the laws. If I can just mute you, Mr. Krishnamurti. Okay, all right. So these laws, just like we have laws of the land, similarly, material nature also has laws for the land, laws for the entire creation. There are certain things which one cannot do. Now, we are all here in this material creation. Why? So I will go into that one day in detail, why we are here in the first place. But in short, we are here because we want to enjoy. We want to enjoy separately from the Supreme Lord. We want to enjoy away from God. We are trying to enjoy our senses. We want to experience, and we also want to lord it over other living entities, and we want to lord it over this material creation. So it's not possible to do this in the kingdom of God, because there the Supreme Lord is the Lord of everything, and everyone serves the Supreme Lord there. So it's not possible to do like this there. So therefore, a special place is given. This material creation is made for us, where we can indulge in our misguided desires. So that is the purpose this material world is created. So it's sort of like a parent. A parent will have children. Some children are obedient. Some children are very loving to the parent. The parent is equal to all children. He starts off equally, isn't it? We want to be fair to everybody. We want to be nice. But when one child is very obedient to the parent and is always following the instructions and very lovingly reciprocating, whereas when the other child, he is conniving, deceitful, or he's selfish, he's trying to exploit the other children to get what he wants, right? The father will give equal apple share, but then the other selfish child will try to steal the share from the other child. So when the parent sees the child behaving in this way, right, he will try to tell the child, he'll advise, he will tell nicely, and then, but still the child doesn't, he's very stubborn about it. And then the child feels bitter. Why is my father being so unfair? He's telling me things like that and everything. And then eventually the child grows up. So the father cannot keep this child within the same area because he's dangerous for the other children. And this child also, this errant child also doesn't want to stay with the parents. because he feels, why should I be in this place? Let me just go out, strike out on my own. So he leaves, right? So in the same way, the souls, we have all misused our independence. The Lord gives us independence. One thing the Lord doesn't do, he doesn't force us. He gives us independence. So if we misuse that independence, then we come to this material world. And when we are in this material world, there are some rules to follow. So these rules are set by the Supreme Lord to ensure few things. Number one, to ensure that everybody in this material creation is treated equally. So actually the rules are set up in this material world for equal treatment. So when we cross those rules, then that's when the punishment comes. That's when the situation, the demerit points come in, right? So like this, the Lord is not partial. He sets the rules, but when the soul, embodied soul, decides to flaunt those rules, one of the main aspects of this rule is ahimsa. Ahimsa means to not do harm unto others. Now, this harm is not based on our definition. It's based on God's definition of what is harm, right? So in 3:16, Krishna says, Bhagavad Gita, my dear Arjuna, one who does not follow in human life the cycle of sacrifice thus established by the Vedas certainly leads a life full of sin. So this is one aspect of it, right? But there are many other aspects towards how the material world's laws are set. And we won't go too deeply into that today. But as of now, right, we know that there are rules to follow. For example, don't kill. Do not kill other people. In Christianity, we have the 10 commandments. Thou shalt not kill. So like that, and thou shalt not steal. So like that, simple basic rules are there. But beyond that, there is also a lot of other things. For example, in human life, there is responsibility, there is duty. So if one does not execute one's due responsibilities or duties, that also we will incur sin. So, and like that, there are, and the entire material creation is, the laws were created in such a way so that eventually it will bring about our devotion to the Supreme Lord. It is to eventually lead us in that path. So like that, it's guiding us step by step, gradually through the various rules and regulations set by the enjoined in the scriptures. So nature is said to be the cause of all material causes and effects. So similarly, the courtroom is like nature, material nature. So when someone is gone against the law, right, material nature will immediately arrest that person. How he will arrest? With the three modes of material nature. He uses three ropes. The ropes are mode of goodness, sattva guna, raja guna, and tamo guna. So using these three ropes, he will arrest that living entity, and that living entity will be kept in a certain place, in like a prison. So accordingly, he will suffer. If it's in the arrested with the mode of goodness, he will, the suffering is not so much. If it's arrested in the mode of passion, a bit more suffering. Arrested in the mode of ignorance, then the suffering is a little bit more. So accordingly, and then they are brought for judgment. So, and then we cannot escape, we cannot deny, because everything is being recorded by the Paramatma who is situated in our hearts. So there are also witnesses. The witnesses is described in the scriptures. The sun is the witness during daytime. The moon is the witness during nighttime. The 10 directions, north, south, east, west, northeast, southwest, and all that, and up and down, these are all also witnesses. Fire is a witness. Water, the 5 elements, earth, water, fire, air, ether are the witnesses. So there is no way we can hide our activities, nowhere we can, no one we can lie about. And Paramatma is also there within our heart, who's witnessing our waking and our sleeping moments. So with all these witnesses giving as evidence and testifying against our crimes, so and in this way, judgment is given. whereas the living entity is the cause of the various sufferings. So therefore, can we say that the judge who awards the punishment or the reward is the cause of the suffering or the enjoyment of the living of the prisoner or the person in the courtroom? So it's quite absurd, isn't it? So the judge is simply awarding what was due anyway. What was due because of the activity of the convict or the person in the courtroom. So if the convict has made a mistake, if he has crossed the laws, then he is to be punished. So it is not due to the judge's desire, or the judge may feel compassion. The judge may feel, it's so sad, such a young person, so sad that he has to go to jail for the rest of his life. What to do? What is necessary, right? So in this way, the judge awards. So God does not want us to suffer. It's not his desire that we suffer in this material world, but he does not want to force us. He doesn't want to, he gives us instructions. The opportunities are given to us. The scriptures are given, the gurus are there, the Lord himself comes to set an example. Even when Krishna was there, he told so many people. Duryodhana was there right in front of Krishna. He didn't accept Krishna. So, but the Lord does not force. He always gives free will. Why does the Lord not force? The Lord does not force because love, which is what the Lord wants from us, cannot be forced. It has to be given freely. So that only then it's called love, right? So, and he also knows this is temporary. What you're going through is only temporary. It's just like a small speck in the large river of time. It's nothing in the vision of the Lord. And it is due, and at the same time, right, opportunities are always there. It is not eternal or perpetual suffering. Well, like the Christians and the Abrahamic religions, they will say eternal damnation. Now that doesn't make sense, right? Eternal damnation. What's the point of eternal damnation if we are all souls? Where is the point of repentance? So that is not really sensible. So the point of punishment is so that one may learn. So how do we learn? How do we understand? So the living entity in material nature thus follows the ways of life, enjoying the three modes of nature. This is due to his association with that material nature. Thus, he meets with good and evil among various species. So it is simply the living entity's actions and desires which are bringing him the various enjoyment and suffering within this life, right? So these laws that we talked about is called karma. So today we are going to discuss about understanding karma and its law. So a very simple way to explain karma is, it is natural. We don't even have to, this is Newton's law, Newton's third law, right? Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So it is not something which we can argue about. It is there all over us. It is present throughout the universe, not only in this earth, throughout the universe. It is a standard law. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So the same way, it also applies to our activities. So in human life, this is also the same thing. This is a very simple understanding about the law of karma. So, but in order for the law of karma to really work, we have to first of all understand that we are the soul. Atma Tattva is the basis. So if we do not accept that we are the soul, we cannot understand the law of karma. But there are religions who do accept that we are the soul, but they do not accept another aspect about the soul, that the soul continues to take birth after birth, life after life. So this is the problem with the other religious understandings in the world. They cannot understand why children are born in such terrible conditions, why some children are born well, whereas some children are not born well. So the reason is because this is not our first life. This is not our first body. We have taken many lifetimes. We have taken so many different bodies in our past. millions of it, that this body that we have presently is just one more that we are getting. Can we count the number of clothes that we have changed in our life, right? Daily, if we were to change 3 sets of clothes or 2 sets of clothes, we can count how many lifetime, how many days we have changed. So similarly, the body is innumerable. Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityo. So the living entity takes birth in the new body, and that body dies. Jata and mrityo, birth and death, birth and death. Dhruvam janma mritasya cha. Again and again and again, it continues, right? So here's this verse, Bhagavad Gita 15.8. Sariram yad avapnoti yat chapi utkramatishvaraha. Okay, I'll just say the translation. The living entity in the material world carries his different conceptions of life from one body to another. So here we have a clue about how the law of karma actually works. So when we take our birth life after life, remember, we have mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita, right? We have 2 types of bodies. One is the gross body, which is made up of earth, water, ether, air, and all that, fire and all that. The 5 gross material body, which is basically our body. And we also have our subtle body, the Sukshma Sarira, the subtle body. Sarira means body. Stula Sarira, which is the gross body, and the Sukshma Sarira, which is the subtle body. The subtle body is made out of mind, intelligence, and false ego, ahamkara. And these 3 go with us, which is like the seat, like in an aeroplane, you will have the entire body of the aeroplane, which is like the gross body. But where is the soul of the aeroplane situated? It's like the pilot, right? The pilot is not situated in other parts of the aeroplane. He's situated in the front of the aeroplane, at the cockpit. So the cockpit of the aeroplane is like it's like the heart, where the soul is situated within the heart. And within there, he's having all his subtle controls. So this is basically the mind, intelligence, and false ego. It's like encapsulating. Now, sometimes when we wear clothes, we have underclothes, and then we also have clothes on top of that. So like that, the subtle body is the mind, intelligence, and false ego, which is covering the soul. And at the time of death, the subtle body travels with the soul. The subtle body is not left behind. It travels with the soul. And the Paramatma is also with there, right? So the soul and the Paramatma together with the subtle body, it's like an escape pod. When the ship sinks, someone leaves the ship with an escape pod, right? So in the escape pod is like the subtle body. And this subtle body will travel just like how the air carries the fragrance, right? In the same way, it brings us to that fragrance is brought to our nostril from the source of the fragrance. So similarly, the subtle body is brought to another new body. And this is how the Atma travels. So if we understand this, then we can accept that this is not our first life. And similarly, our karma, which is our actions and our reactions, is brought from our previous life also. So there's a popular saying, this is from the Bible actually, Galatians 6.7. For whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. In English, we'll say, whatever we sow, that we will reap. So if we throw watermelon seeds, then watermelons will grow. We cannot expect ladies' fingers to grow from a watermelon seed, isn't it? So therefore, if we do good acts, then we will get good reactions. If we do bad acts, then we will get bad reactions. So, and at the same time, there are different varieties of seeds also. So in the same way, there are different varieties of reactions for each of our actions. So the seeds will grow, right? According to our action, we will get our reaction, but not necessarily in one lifetime. So this is the catch. This is where we can first of all understand the difference. Not necessarily in this lifetime, we will receive those reactions. There are some reactions, just like seeds, if we throw some seeds, like for example, if you throw a weed, a lalang or something like that, simple seeds we throw, very quickly within few days, you will see the plant sprouting, and within a few days it will grow. But if you throw a mango seed, it's not going to grow, and the fruit is not going to come to you within a few days. It may take years, right? A mango seed, from the onset you throw, it may take years before it will take months before the sprouts come out, and then it may take years before it grows into a big tree, and after that it may take I don't know how long else before the fruit comes. So like that, there are some trees which will grow, which will take 20 years, some fruits which will take 50 years. So in this way, our reactions will take time. Some will come very fast. For example, you go and slap your neighbor. You go to your neighbor and you slap the neighbor. Slap. Immediately you will get the reaction. The neighbor will slap you back, or you will get a police report or something like that. So that's instantaneous karma. But some karma will take time. Like, for example, you're taking care of your children. If we are nurturing our children, the reactions will take time before they will appreciate all the efforts that we have put. So like that, we can understand. And some will actually only bear fruit in our next life or in a few lifetimes after that. So therefore, there are this kind of time adjustments to be seen. So when we plant a seed, the seed will grow and it will eventually bear fruit. So which is like the reaction. So we can say karma, it's like the desire. The farmer wants to be a farmer and he wants to throw the watermelon seed. So that's called the kutam. Kutam means the desire to plant a seed. So it has that in the beginning. And then when he plants it, the seed is called bijam. So it grows. So, and eventually, phalan, the fruit, is received. So activities are also like that. The moment we perform an activity, the reaction comes in the form of kutam. The desire or the notion is already the reactions will plant notions in our subtle body, in our understanding. And eventually it will bear fruit. The contemplation will come and we will think about it. And then this will be like the seed. And then we will act upon the seed. Then we will get the fruit. So this is how karma works. It's quite complex actually. And it can take, as I said, lifetimes. So I want to give a short story to illustrate the complexity of karma and how karma works. So once there was a cow which managed to escape its owner. And then it was running, and then there were a bunch of thieves who wanted to steal this cow. So they were chasing this cow and they wanted to kill the cow. They wanted to kill the cow and they wanted to enjoy its flesh or something like that. These were very low people during those days. So this cow ran and it came and hid inside a village. Now in this village there was a hut, and in this hut there was a Brahmana. And this Brahmana was sitting outside his hut and he was reciting, he was basically learning from the Vedas. He was a Brahmana who's studying the Samhita part of the Vedas. You know, the Vedas have 4 parts. So the Samhita is basically the rituals. So he is expert in the rituals. And while he was reading this outside, he saw the cow running, and the cow went straight and entered into a particular empty shed in one of the village area. He saw where the cow took shelter, and he was looking, why is this happening? Then he saw the bandits, the terrible people who were chasing the cow. They also came, and when they saw that the cow disappeared, and then they saw the Brahmana was sitting there, they asked the Brahmana in a very gruff voice, tell me, where is the cow, or else if you value your life. So this Brahmana, he had read scriptures, so he knew, now I should, it's of course, this he could understand that these bandits, they didn't mean well for the cow. The cow was basically running for its life. And at the same time, he also thought, but I should also tell the truth. Satyam, I'm a Brahmana. I've been told to uphold the truth. But he was not a very wise Brahmana, so he didn't understand the subtleties. So he was tussling in his mind, but at the same time, he was also motivated by fear. And then he thought, I shouldn't be the cause I shouldn't point out, it's not nice that he didn't want to show where the cow was hiding. But at the same time, he wanted to be truthful, and he was also a bit scared. So, and he thought, okay, I won't speak anything, I won't say a word. Instead, I will just point. So using his left hand, he thought he can reduce his reactions by using his left hand. He used his left hand and pointed towards the shed where the cow was hiding, but he didn't utter a word. So he maintained his satyam, and using his knowledge, he used his left hand to indicate something inauspicious. And he was hoping that things will go on in the right way. But because of his actions, the bandits, they entered the shed, they found the cow, they caught the cow, and they killed the cow, and the cow died. And the Brahmana was very upset. But anyway, life went on. So he was afraid that is this going to be a cause of me participating in the killing of a cow, which is a very, very bad sin. So anyway, life did go on, and nothing very bad happened to his life. And he thought that, okay, and he also forgot about it. And everything went on, and eventually he died out of old age. And after dying, in his next life, he took another birth. And this time he also took a birth as a Brahmana. Because of his pious activities as a Brahmana, he took the birth of a Brahmana, another Brahmana in his new life. And he was also a learned person, he learned scriptures and everything. And one day he was going to travel. So, and he became actually a famous Brahmana because due to his piety of holding on to truthfulness and a few other things, he eventually became a popular Brahmana life was good for him. He was known for his knowledge and all. So one day he wanted to travel. He traveled, and while traveling, he came across a village. And he was very tired and hungry and thirsty, and he wanted to take shelter of the village. So every other door was closed except there was one door. He actually arrived during the evening, and there was one door open, and there was one lady who was waiting outside, sitting outside. So then this lady said, okay, you're a Brahmana, you're a guest. Those days the culture is very strong. If anybody comes, they will invite the person, even if it's a stranger, to stay in their house. So they invited, but this lady was a bit shy in the beginning because she was, the culture was, if you are alone, you cannot invite a man into the house without your husband there. So this lady, the husband actually went away. He went traveling somewhere, and he would not be back until tomorrow. So this lady was a little shy about it. But at the same time, this lady was not a very pious lady. She was cruel in her thinking, in her mind. And at the same time, she thought this Brahmana, he's quite young and he's quite good looking, and maybe I can seduce him. So let me have a good time. So she was that kind of a person. So she invited the Brahmana in, and then she fed the Brahmana food and everything. But at the same time, later at night, she came to the Brahmana and told him her desires. I want to have a relationship with you. Just one night, my husband will not be here, and nobody needs to know. So then this Brahmana, he was aghast. He thought, no, how is this? I cannot do things like this. So he told the lady, no, you are a nice woman. Please don't behave like this. Let me just stay here and I will leave tomorrow. So, but this lady was very upset. She didn't like that she was rejected like this. She was embarrassed. And at the same time, she was afraid. She was afraid that in case this person tells anybody, I will be in big trouble. So what she wanted to do, immediately she put up a scene. She tore her sari a bit, she tore her clothes a little, and she ran out screaming and shouting and saying, this Brahmana is trying to attack me. He's trying to enjoy me. So, please help me. So in this way, she was making the scene, and all the village people came and they tried to ask what's happening. And this lady told that this Brahmana is trying to take advantage of me alone. So eventually they also knew a bit about this lady. They know that this lady is not very truthful, and they know about her character slightly. But at the same time, the evidence of this lady was clear. She had a torn clothing and everything, and the Brahmana was sitting alone. Somehow, although he was very learned, his fatigue and his tiredness clouded his mind. He was rather in illusion that he should have avoided. He should not have entered into the house alone with the lady. But still, he did. Somehow he made a mistake, and now he's paying for it. And these villagers, they all decided, okay, you're a Brahmana, and usually we will kill outright. We will kill such a person who has done something like this to a married woman. But because you're a Brahmana and everything, so and what we will do is we will just give you a punishment. And the punishment is we will cut off your left hand. So they cut off the left hand of the Brahmana, and the Brahmana was in pain and misery, and he left the village, and he was like thinking, what could I have done? What mistake could I have done? Anyway, this story was narrated in the scriptures, and later it was explained. So it is said that the Brahmana, the lady who died, the lady who accused this Brahmana was actually a cow in her previous birth. So in her previous birth, the cow that was killed, that took birth as this lady in this life. And the bandits who attacked, also they went to hell, and this is a different thing. But this cow was this lady. And because this cow had died in his previous life due to this Brahmana pointing with his left hand, so the vengeance, the justice of the system is such that she was the person who was responsible for this Brahmana to lose his left hand in this life. So an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, right? This is justice system. So it works in a very complex way. So this is the lady, anyway, picture. So what can we understand here? We can understand that the mills of God grind slowly, but they grind exceedingly fine. This is a very popular saying also. And what it means is justice cannot be escaped. It will always come. It may come slowly, right, depending on our actions, but it will come extremely fine. Even the smallest injustice will not go escaped. Everything will be met. So this is the perfect universal justice system which is applicable to all living entities in the entire material creation. So this concept is there even in the Abrahamic religions, in Bible also, as you sow, so shall you reap, right? But details are not given on how it works. Even in Islam also is there. There's something called the concept of kifarah, or punishment according to sins. But they cannot explain the details. So these are there in our Vedic scriptures, very well discussed and in detail. So it's mentioned in the Mahabharata, as the young calf is able to recognize its mother from among 1,000 cows. So this one is, it seems the cow has a very special capability that even if you put amongst hundreds of cows or thousands of cows, eventually the calf will able to recognize his own mother. Of course, it'll look around, it'll go about, and it will recognize his mother. So does karma find the person destined to experience it in proper time? So this is what the Mahabharata says. So some key understanding here from this story and also from what I have just mentioned. Karma is universal, perfect justice. It spans across space and time, not limited to one geographical area, not limited to one material world, not even limited to one universe. It can be many, many across space and across time. So it can grow, it can go across different lifetimes, depending on the severity of the karma, the nature of our activities. Karma is very precise. There is no way we can escape even the smallest reaction. Sometimes we throw one action that we cause, we do not know how many people are going to suffer the reaction of that action. Like, for example, a teacher may teach. If the teacher does not teach properly, we do not know how many people in whichever way is going to be affected due to that teacher not doing his duty. So in this way, there are a lot of repercussions which are, based upon this. So karma is very precise. Karma is also inescapable. This is based on the witnesses which I mentioned earlier. Right? So let us understand in more detail how this karma works. So we have what we call aprarabdha karma, prarabdha karma, and kriyamana karma. So prarabdha. So the means when we put the word the alphabet in front, that means it's like negating. Like karma means action. Karma means no action. So in similar way, prarabdha and aprarabdha. So we will begin with aprarabdha karma. So what is prarabdha? Prarabdha means manifested karma. Karma which is manifested for us. Whereas aprarabdha means not manifested. So what does that mean? It means it's the sum of all accrued karmas since time immemorial. That means ever since we came into this material creation in a far away immemorial time, all the karmas which we have accrued across our lifetimes is like a huge bag of karmas which we are carrying with us, which is not really showing in this life yet. It's not yet showing yet. So this is called aprarabdha karma. That means it's not yet manifested. It's there in our baggage. It will either manifest in the future, or it will manifest in our next life or in the future lives, waiting for us, our karma bag. And this aprarabdha karma, it can also affect us in the way we desire. Why are we born with certain desires? We are not doing the actions, but we have certain desires. Why are some people born in certain way with a certain desire? People have fetishes. People have certain, sometimes sinful desires, sometimes pious desires. There are some people who are naturally very cruel. So they have certain, they enjoy, they are being sadistic, sadists and all that. So why do they have this? So these are all coming from our aprarabdha karma, from our previous impressions, previous sinful activities or pious activities. They are actually controlling our desires, giving ideas to us, tendencies. So kuta and bija. So desires are deep inside our heart, and this will give rise to, actually it's the other way around. Kuta is tendency, bija is desire. So kuta is the tendencies which come, right? And this will give rise to the seed, bija. So it's like the archer. The example is given now. If an archer is going to shoot arrows, the archer will have a quiver of arrows. So this quiver is like the bag. And in that quiver, you will have different types of arrows, which are all the aprarabdha karma. So when he reaches out for those arrows, depends which kind of tendencies or desires or what future activities are waiting for him. And then we have something called prarabdha karma. Prarabdha karma means it's the karma which is destined to play in our present lifetime. So we have taken our birth, right? In this birth, we have our astrology already decided, set. Certain things are which karma from our baggage is going to be used for this lifetime. It's already decided in that setup. Yes. So it is mentioned that the moment we take the moment of our conception, not even our birth, the moment of our conception, the amount of happiness or distress that we are going to go through in our life is already decided. And then the moment of birth will decide how this happiness and how this distress is going to play about in our life. So So it's not the activity, see, it's the happiness and distress. So no matter how we twist and turn, the amount of happiness which we are going to enjoy in this life is already decided. And the amount of distress we are also going to get is also decided. So we may think that I can avoid this distress by avoiding this particular activity or whatever it is, but it will simply come in a different way, right? Like somebody will maybe very sad, oh, I did not have any children in my life. What's so horrible situation that I don't have any children? So their whole life is miserable. They are sad and everything. And then one day they get a child, and when they get the child may not be, the child may be a cause of great distress for that parent. So in this way, it doesn't matter. One may think that I don't like this job, let me change the job. They may change the job, but the happiness and the distress they may get is going to still be the same. It may come in different ways, that's all. So, and this is what is called prarabdha karma. That is decided. Happiness and distress is set, cannot change. But the birth will set a schedule. It will tell us what kind of activities we are likely to do according to our karma. We may take these activities, we may take that activity. In our certain dasha periods, we may change. So these kinds of things are also there. It's not 100% set. It is still in a range of possibilities. Not all possibilities, but some possibilities which are set already, which we can have some control about. So that's called prarabdha karma. So that prarabdha karma is like the archer. This archer is born as an archer. In this life, he's born as an archer. He has a bow, and with the bow, he's now, what is he going to do? He's going to shoot arrows, which is from the aprarabdha karma. And then we have something called the kriyamana karma. The kriyamana karma, you can see, is like the arrows which he shoots. So what is this kriyamana karma? Kriyamana karma is the new karma which is produced in this lifetime, which will either react immediately or later on or in our next life. So what is important is the kriyamana karma. We have to be careful that we perform kriyamana karma carefully. Now, this archer, for example, he may choose. He has these arrows due to his prarabdha karma and aprarabdha karma. He's an archer. He has a bowman. He knows how to shoot arrows. And he may choose to shoot his arrows at people, or he may choose to shoot arrows at enemies. I mean, those who are criminals. So he can either shoot his arrow towards criminals, or he can shoot his arrows towards innocent people. So that's his choice that he can decide. So what the archer chooses to do with his arrow is his choice or free will. So free will is given, that is called agami. Agami means free will, that is there. Now, to some extent, the free will is limited according to our prarabdha karma, right? Because we have a certain desire, right? We have certain tendencies. So these tendencies and these certain desires will tend to make us perform certain activities. But still, the ultimate choice is up to us. If we have the right understanding, if we have the right knowledge, if someone is able to tell us the right thing to do, we can still make the choice not to make the right thing. For example, we may have a taste for meat. For example, I wasn't born a vegetarian, so I used to be a meat eater. So I used to enjoy certain types of food stuff. But later on, I made a choice. So despite me not liking it, so I made a choice, and then a shift was made, and eventually, I ended up liking vegetarian food much more. So that is eventual, but still the choice is there. We can make that change. We can choose. So that is called agami. So this choice is only given to us in the human form of life. It is not there in animals or plants. In animal life and in plant life, they are not affected by karma. They are simply going through their karma. Because being born an animal or a plant is actually miserable, is suffering, is going through, they are burning their karma. But when you come to human life, that is the kshetra. That is the place where we can make decisions. Because in human form, we have got developed intelligence to do what? Not to eat better or sleep better or mate better or defend better, but to discriminate between right and wrong and lead responsible lives, to execute our duties accordingly and to perform sacrifices. So that is the idea of human life. So I'll skip the story. I will just move on to the next part. The story, I will save it for some other time. So anyway, right. So Krishna says, karmano hi api bodhavyam cha vikarmanaha, akarmanas cha bodhavyam gahana karmano gati. I think I'll just mention the story anyway. So this story is just to illustrate to us how karma can work separately. Now, once Krishna and his family, the Vrishni dynasty, they went for a picnic and they were playing ball, the children of the Vrishni dynasty, Krishna's grandsons and all. And when one day the ball entered into a well, and in this well, there was a big lizard, very shiny, beautiful, interesting looking lizard. When the boys came to try to take the ball, somehow the ball will not come out. The lizard was stuck to the ball. And they tried to save the lizard also. But despite all they tried to do, they couldn't save the lizard. The lizard was still always within the well. So then they went to see Krishna and asked Krishna. And then Krishna came, and all he did was he reached out and touched this lizard. Simply by the touch of this lizard changed into a very beautiful, extremely shining, heavenly personality from Indraloka. So he took that form. And then Krishna asked this person, tell us who you are. And then this Nirga said, well, you know everything, Krishna. But since you asked, I will tell you. I was once known as the famous King Nirga. This King Nirga, and he said, and I was very famous for performing all kinds of charity. I was a very pious king. I used to perform all kinds of charity. And he used to say, not ordinary charity I used to do. I used to do the greatest amongst charities. He used to donate. It said that one of the highest charity one can do is to donate a cow, right? So he used to donate not only one cow, he used to donate thousands of cows daily to not just any Tom, Dick, or Harry, to the topmost persons, to Brahmanas, to pious people. So he used to, and on top of that, not only just he donated the cows, these cows were decked with with costly pearls. They were covered with silks, and then their horns were plated with gold, and their hooves were plated with silver. And these kind of cows were given to Brahmanas, thousands of them daily. So it said that, and not only that, these are young cows, and all these cows will have a calf, of their first calf. So in this way, such perfected charity he used to give daily. And it just so happened that on one time, the cow that he gave to one Brahmana, this cow escaped its enclosure and entered into the enclosure of another Brahmana, who the cows were to be given as charity also. So then when the first Brahmana saw that the charity which was given by the king, the cow, was missing, and then he went looking for it, and he saw that this cow was in the compound of another Brahmana. And then he went to the king, and then he told the king, the cow that you gave me in charity, this cow now has gone into the other Brahmana's compound. So please return it back to me. So the king called the other Brahmana, and then he told what has happened. And then this Brahmana said, oh, I cannot give this cow, although it came into my compound without anything. But I cannot give back the cow because I have taken a vow that I cannot give back, return the charity which you have given me. So this is again scriptural principles. It's also one of the Vedic injunctions. If you give charity, you cannot take it back or you cannot return it. It's like if you return something which is already taken, it is like an insult to the person who gave the charity. And the person who gives the charity cannot take back also what he has given. So the king, he said, okay, never mind. I will give you many other cows to the first Brahmana to replace this one cow. And then this Brahmana said, no, I have taken a vow because I am a Brahmana. I cannot take too much charity. So my vow is I will only accept one charity only from you. So, and then the king was aghast. He didn't know what to do. Oh my goodness, what a pickle. So this Brahmana has, the gift I gave this Brahmana looks like as if I never gave it to him. The Brahmana never received this. Although he received, it's not his fault that the cow wandered and went over to another compound. But still, in effect, it's like as if he promised a charity for the Brahmana, and the Brahmana did not receive the phalan, the fruit of this charity from the king. And from the other Brahmana, he couldn't take back that cow because the moment he entered the compound, it was considered that the cow was given in charity to the other Brahmana already. So he couldn't take it back also. So in return, despite him trying to solve the problem, the two Brahmanas, they left disappointed. And this king, he received the sin of stealing from a Brahmana. That was the reaction for his activity, despite doing all the other charity. So then when he eventually died, he went to Yamaraj, and Yamaraj asked him, do you want to enjoy the sin? Do you want to enjoy your bad reaction first, or do you want to enjoy your good reaction first? And then the king was thinking, he forgot about this one activity actually, about the Brahmana and the cow being lost and all. So he was thinking, I have done so much of charity, wonderful things are waiting for me in this next life. I don't remember doing anything sinful. So probably let me just get it clear. Let it just clear it out of my way. So he was thinking that way. And he said, then I can enjoy in peace, I don't have to worry about suffering the reactions. So he told Yamaraj, I will go through the reactions of my sin first, being very confident that it's going to be very small. So after that, he can enjoy full time. Then the Yamaraj said, okay, so be it. So then he told what has happened, and then he made, because of the sin of the stealing of the Brahmana, he took the birth as a lizard. And because he had done many other pious activities to please the Supreme Lord, somehow, though his motive wasn't directly to please the Lord, but still the charity was done eventually with the reaction that it pleases the Lord. So he got a special body of a special lizard. And the boon was such that the Supreme Lord himself will save him. So in this way, the karma took place. And he spent the lifetime of this lizard for thousands of years. It's a special lizard. Thousands of years he lived in that well, suffering that one reaction of that stealing from a Brahmana. So then he told Krishna, because you have saved me, now I am now able to enjoy the remainder of my pious activity reactions. But since you have also touched me, I have realized the futility of me trying to enjoy my pious activities because I have become purified by your touch. Oh Krishna, I can understand that the real goal of life is to actually achieve your lotus feet. So anyway, this story illustrates to us that karma is very complicated. The translation of this is, the intricacies of action are very hard to understand. Karmano. So we need to understand, therefore, Krishna says, one should know properly what action is, what forbidden action is, and what inaction is. So action is called karma, forbidden action is called vikarma, and what inaction is called akarma. So we will talk about inaction next session. Today we will talk about forbidden action and action. What is prescribed action, karma, and what is forbidden action, vikarma. So just like from what we can understand from the story of King Mirga and the lizard and all that, right? We can understand that clearly there are two accounts. Account one is punya karma. For all the good things that we do, all the punya, the prescribed activities, the do's that we are supposed to do, right? The sacrifices that we perform and all that, we will receive our reward, which will go into account one, punya karma. Example, broadly, category will be any activities which are satyam, saucham, tapa, and daya. Satyam means truthfulness, saucham means cleanliness, tapa means austerities, and daya means mercy. You know, the four legs of the bull we were talking about. We have talked about satyam and we've talked about saucham. So performing these kinds of activities in general and also other pious activities which are falling under these categories, we will get punya karma. And the result of this punya karma is we will get good, we will enjoy, we will get happiness, sukha, right? We will either enjoy in this life or in the next life, good birth, good family, good education, good beauty, good knowledge, good wealth, all these things. It can, if our punya is very good, we may not only take birth in earth, we may take birth in heavenly kingdoms, in Indra Loka, we may become even Indra. Indra is a position. Indra's position is achieved when someone performs 100 Ashwamedha Yagyas. It's a special type of fire sacrifice. Then they can become Indra. So like that, the positions of the Devatas, these are all achievable by our Punya Karma. According to, the more we follow the scriptural Vedic injunctions of the Punya Karma, the more we can achieve them. And the Vedas are full of these descriptions. But there is also account 2, Vikarma, also called Papam, sin. So when we perform sinful activities contrary to the scriptures, then these things fall into the account 2. So it's not like one good activity cancels the bad activity. It's not like that. Clearly we can see, right, in the Nirga's case, right, though he did so much of charity, that one mistake, he didn't cancel it. He had to suffer the sin separately, and he had to enjoy the happiness, the piety separately. Sometimes it is separated, sometimes it is mixed, right? So like that, it depends on the, so clearly it's given, there are two different accounts, punya karma and papam. And what is this papam from? Mainly from activities which are stemming away from gambling, illicit sex, intoxication, and meat eating. The last one is meat eating. So we can see there is positive account and there is negative account, depending on our activities. And we have to either enjoy them or suffer them separately. Sometimes they may be mixed, but it does not cancel each other. So if people are thinking, you know, oh, I've done a lot of sin, let me do a lot of charity to counteract my sin. So if they are thinking like that, because of fear of sin, they are doing charity, then it comes under a different category called prayaschita. We will talk about that in next week session, right? This is called atonement. So that's separate. But if one is not having the mood of atonement, if simply one is simply, you know, he has done his sins, but at the same time, he's also doing his pious things, right? So he has to separately experience both of these. So I hope that is clear, right? So if we engage in sinful activities rooted in the 4 pillars of adharma, which is meat eating, gambling, intoxication, illicit sexual activities, we will suffer karmic reactions in this life or in the afterlife. Not necessarily in this life, depends. Or in the afterlife, which is in hellish situations, and degrade to lower life forms. So these are all ways how we can clear our bad karma account. It has to be cleared, right? So these are ways to do it. And it may take many lifetimes. There are some sins which can go on for several generations, right? It can go on like, you know, taking different lifetimes, like, you know, child without children. If one kills a child in the womb, you know, abortion and all that, it said that for 7 generations also, they will not get children. Of course, after suffering in hell and everything like that, once they take again a human form, they will not get children for 7 generations, and they will acutely feel the suffering of that. So like that, there are different details of the karma. Examples. So the living entity, Bhagavad Gita 15.9, thus taking another gross body, obtains a certain type of ear, eye, tongue, nose, and sense of touch, which are grouped about the mind. He thus enjoys a particular set of sense objects. So you see, the desire and the inclinations are also coming from the previous life. If we engage in pious activities based on the 4 pillars of Dharma, which are Satyam, Tapa, Daya, Saucham, like that. So then what happens? Purified by sinful reactions, they take birth on the pious heavenly planet of Indra. You know, different heavenly planets are there. We will talk about them in another separate special session. We talk about the planets of the different lokas in the world. So there they can enjoy godly delights. Amazing. They can even enjoy position, even as great personalities such as Indra, Surya, Chandra, Agni, different positions one can enjoy. But Bhagavad Gita continues, 9:21. When they have thus enjoyed vast heavenly sense pleasure, and the results of their pious activities are exhausted. So this is not eternal. These pious activities, as we enjoy them, we are actually clearing our account, right? So it's like, we work, we earn money, we go for a holiday, but we cannot live in that holiday place forever as long as our account lasts. So the moment our money runs out, we come back from the holiday, we go back to our working time. So the work area is like the human life. So if the human life, we are pious, we can enjoy a holiday, and when the holiday is finished, what happens? They return to this mortal planet again. Bhagavad Gita 9:21. And the Deva is actually described in the Srimad Bhagavatam, how they return. It's quite painful. They know what they are, they say the higher you go, the harder the fall. When you are in that position of a Deva, to suddenly to drop everything and come back to the material world, it is extremely painful. The attachment is very strong. It is said that they cry, the tears will come, and they drop in this form, they drop as rain. They enter into the rain, and they drop as raindrops and enter into the ground. And in this way, they go into the grains, and when they are eaten, they go into the body of the man, and then it comes as semen. And when the semen is impregnated into the woman, then the child is born. So this is how it happens. Everybody from the heavenly king Indra down to the insect Indragopa, it's a special type of worm, is bound by the laws of karma. But one who is wholeheartedly engaged in bhakti yoga to Govinda is an exception. Brahma Samhita 554. So we will talk about that in detail in the next session, about the exceptions. But for now, we can understand that from the heavenly planets all the way to the lower planets, they're all bound by the material creation, which is bound by the laws of karma. So in the end, either way, Krishna continues 9:21, thus for those who seek sense enjoyment by adhering to the principles of the Vedas, achieve only repeated birth and death. So this is the end result anyway. So this is called karma kanda, fruitive activities, desiring for sense enjoyment. So for one who is not renounced, the threefold fruits of action, desirable, undesirable, and mixed, accrue after death. So punya and papa, it's like a Ferris wheel. Huh? So this Ferris wheel is like, it's like the axle is here, but it's like underwater, and then it goes above water. So when someone does papa, sin, the Ferris wheel is like going underwater. So the person is like drowning, suffering. Then the papa, the punya, due to his pious activities, the punya now goes up. So they are enjoying, and then again going down, suffering, again going down. So in this way, they take birth after birth after birth after birth. So punya and papa perpetuate what they do. They simply perpetuate the cycle of birth and death with experiences of happiness or distress upon the axle of desire. So this is the axle. And the axle, the desire, is the cause of this continuous perpetuation. So from here we can understand some key points. Karma is very complex. Prarabdha, aprarabdha, and kriya mana karma. Prarabdha is what is manifested in this life. Aprarabdha is in our baggage waiting to happen in our next life, or in our tendencies and our thinking. Kriya mana karma, which is our actions which we can now do. So those are the things which will cause our new karmas in our next life. And then we also understood about the ability to, the ultimate choice of action is still given to us, agami. It is still our choice that makes that decision. So when we are the ones making that choice, how can we blame God, right? For all the misery, the happiness, or the suffering that happens to us, to our families, to our community, or to our country, or to the world. So everybody is having these different sets. So it said that karma, we have individual karma, we also have collective karma. Now, collective karma can be in a family. For example, different types of souls having a certain set of karma, they are all put together in one particular family. So the family's karma is also shared amongst the other people. So, and then there is also the country. So the country's karma, you know, if to the extent that we are responsible to put the government in its position, to that extent, we will also suffer some portion of the karma. So it is said that the king suffers the karma 1/6, some percentage of the karma of the citizens. So in the same way, the citizens also suffer some percentage of that karma of the rulers. So in a small amount, especially if we have been instrumental, nowadays is democracy system and all that. So we are born in a certain country, in a certain situations with a certain kind of government. It's part of the karma package. Just like, you know, for killing an animal, it's not just a person who kills the animal gets the karma. It is said the karma of the death of the animal is shared among 6 people. 1/6 of the karma goes to the person who kills the animal. Another 1/6 goes to the person who transports the animal to be killed. Another 1/6 of it goes to the person who ties the animal down, preparing it to be killed. Another one is to the person who cooks the killed animal. And 1/6 goes to the person who eats that flesh. So like that, there are all these people share in the karma of the animal which is being killed. So therefore, and we can understand that punya and papa only perpetuates the cycle of the samsara. So how to break free? So from repeated birth and death, how to break free from this cycle of samsara? So to understand that, right, let me see the time, it's already 9:07. Let me just quickly go through this. I will discuss this again, the last parts, together with our session next week, so that we can close the topic today. So to understand how to break free, we have to understand that it all comes from desire. Desire is bijam. So this desire is somewhat also what you call affected by our previous karma. So with this desire, what this desire will do, it will cause us to execute our desire. When we have a desire, we want to act on it, isn't it? So it will cause an action. Now this action can be either punya, pious, or it can be papa, sinful. And accordingly, we will get our reaction, which is manifested. So which is called prarabdha karma, right? And we will also, based on the manifested reaction, we will either enjoy or suffer the fruits. So this is a very simple one-dimensional understanding of karma. We have desire, we perform the action, we enjoy or suffer the fruits. So some things are very quick, like we go and slap somebody, immediately we have the desire to slap that person, we slap that person, and the person slaps us back. So we enjoy or suffer the phalan. Very simple. Okay. But sometimes the action may not immediately manifest as prarabdha. It may go into the aprarabdha category. Sometimes it's both, right? The action, some actions are such, as I say, it's very complex. How to know which actions are which or whatever, that one is too complicated. We cannot understand that. But some actions will go to unmanifested category, aprarabdha. And what will this unmanifested category do? It will not show you in this life, maybe. It will not show us in the next few years or even the next few days or whatever. But what it will do, it will go into our baggage for our future, or it will affect our thinking, proclivity and tendency. It will create the kutam. It will create the, what do you call, the beginnings of the seed. The seed is not there yet. It's the beginnings of the seed. The formation of the seed begins to take place. And this is our proclivity or our tendency. It's not yet desire. It's just a slight tendency or, a leaning towards one particular thing. So that is coming from our prarabdha karma due to our actions. And from this proclivity, if it's not checked, then it will lead towards desire, the bijam, which is the seed. And that, if it's not checked, will lead towards punya, papa. So it's very dangerous. So this is how it comes. So Bhagavad Gita says, even the intelligent are bewildered in determining what is action and what is inaction. So that we will talk about in next session, right? So the point here is karma is not so easy to understand, right? It is actually, we can understand these main points, but how these actions will manifest precisely, that we will not know. So I put a color coding here. Now, some of these things we can change, some of these things we cannot change. Now, I've put here blue color, dark blue, very difficult to change. What is very difficult to change? Prarabdha. So prarabdha karma is not easy to change, very difficult. This is the karma that we are born. We have already taken our birth. Our destiny, certain set of destinies are there. We have certain set of family. We have certain mind. We have certain diseases waiting. We have, the type of death we are going to have. So certain things like that will not really be able to change. So that is prarabdha, very difficult to change. But though I'm telling you it's difficult to change, there is a way to change. That one, we won't talk about it today. We can talk about it in the next class. But in general, it's very difficult to change this. And then I put light blue, possible to be checked by agami. So this light blue is this one, reaction, unmanifest, aprarabdha. Now this one, with our free will, it's possible that we don't allow the proclivity and the tendency to take place. We check it right at the beginning. But that comes with special knowledge, right? If you don't have that, then how are we going to check this? So possible to be checked by agami is this. And then the results of action. These are the red color. The enjoyment and the suffering and the tendency. These are all already the results of the actions. So if you have a certain tendency, if you have a certain fetish, if you have a certain set of feelings, then that's already coming from our karma, either pious or sinful. Can be controlled by agami. Now what can be controlled fully? So that can be controlled is action. Our actions can be fully controlled by our free will. So we may have desires, but if we know that we shouldn't do this, we can put a stop to it, right? So that is agami. So that's where we can make a difference. Free will is that. So we cannot change this life maybe, but we can change next possible reactions. Whether the purple one is impossible to remove. So desires, bijam, because there's the loop, right? can see here every action, some are manifest, some are unmanifest. So the more we are putting our, the more we are following the scriptures, pious activities, then we will get pious tendencies, pious proclivities, and pious desires. The more we feed sinful desires, sinful activities, then it will lead to sinful loop, right? So it's like two wolves, the good wolf and the bad wolf. Which wolf will win? The wolf which we feed, right? If we feed the good wolf, then the good wolf will win the fight against the bad wolf. So in this way, desires will always be there. The flow of desires will be there. But though I say it's impossible to remove, there is a but to it. So there are ways out of this. So these buts are all possible, which we will discuss in our next session. But in general, majority of the population, they are in avidya. They do not know how to have the buts. So in general, this is how it's going to go about. So this part, which I've shaded in yellow, the desires and the punya and the action, the desires and the action can be checked by proper use of knowledge. So if we have vidya, knowledge, then these desires and these actions can be controlled. There are ways to do it. So I will leave you with this verse, right? As a blazing fire turns firewood to ashes, O Arjuna, so does the fire of knowledge burn to ashes all karmic reactions. Interesting. All karmic reactions. That means what? So here there is another verse from the Padma Purana. The aprarabdha karma, kutta, bija, prarabdha karma can all be destroyed through dash, dash, dash. So here I've mentioned the fire of knowledge, but in detail, what can fully destroy everything? We will talk about this in our next session. So with that, Krishna, and here's a clue to what can completely destroy everything. Bhagavad Gita gives Sarva Dharman Parityagya Mam Ekam Sharanam Raja Aham Tvam Sarva Papebhyo Mokshayishyami Ma Suchaha. Very famous verse, 1866. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. What does he say? I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. So this is our hope, right? So karma is very complex. In general, prarabdha cannot be removed. Desires almost impossible to remove or purify, but there are ways to do this. And we will talk about this in detail in our next session. So this is where yoga comes in. This is where bhakti comes in. Okay, so with that, we end. So any questions before? Okay, just go through the order kit and all that. So we have the food for the soul. So I hope we can all take up this chanting of Hare Krishna. So today is Ekadasi, very auspicious day. I hope we can all do extra rounds if possible, read extra things. In the next session, I will talk about the 6 boats which can save us from this ocean of karma, which can save us from this material creation and bring us back home, back to Godhead. There are 6 boats. So I will talk about that in our next session. So with that, let us say together before we open for questions. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Om Tat Sat. Thank you very much. So if there are any questions, we can discuss.
Prabhu,
Yes,
one question.
Yes,
Actually, when you're talking about karma and all that, it reminds me of genes. Whatever genes you have in you, are they transferred to the next life?
Genes. So I mean, if you say genes, that's basically the karma, what you can say. That's what I'm saying.
Like,
In each life, the karma is brought with us unless we clear it in this life.
basically very difficult to clear the chip of the gene.
Yeah.
So maybe the gene is going from one life to the other life. Is it something like that, Prabhu?
Yes, correct.
Scientifically thinking, it may be the genetic system that is going from one to the other.
Yes. So, but the thing is, genetics here, mainly we talk about human genes, but from here we can understand that the different bodies, the soul passes through various species. So, we have animal species and all that, and it eventually goes through the bodies are simply situations where we can burn our karma, at the same time give rise for us. It's like a tool for us to satisfy our desires. So while we satisfy our desires, we are also burning our karma, and at the same time we are also making new karma. So we need to know how to break out of the cycle, how to not make the wrong decisions in life, how to choose to do something where we can break out of this system. Yes. So genes, like there are some karmas which actually pass through the family. The sin of killing a snake, for example. I've read somewhere that if one of our forefathers killed snakes, right, the karma of that can pass through the. Now, when we killing snakes in general is not considered very sinful. In fact, it's not. But the problem is the snake can curse you. Especially when one kills a snake, it has to be very carefully done. That's why they say Naga Dosham. Naga Dosham is the curse of the snake. It is said that when the last thing the snake sees, that impression of the person who killed that snake is captured with the snake's eyes. So sometimes a snake is not alone. It has a partner, female snake or male snake. The snake will come and see. Just by looking at the dead snake, looking at the eye, it's able to know who's the person who killed it. So sometimes it may take revenge and all that. But anyway, that's the thing. Usually they in those days, they will try to just capture the snake and throw it into the forest or something like that. So anyway, the sin of killing the snake, this is called Naga Dosham. The curse of the snake, it comes through several generations. It said, I think few generations it passes through. And this may lead to not having children, or the children dying early or something like that. So like that, there are certain types of karma, as you say, Dato. It can be genetics. It can pass through this way.
Because we say life is going on to the next life is anything, animal or human being or anything. So the genetic system is still there. So that gene can be transferred to that particular animal or whatever, the next life. I'm looking at the scientific angle.
Yeah, we can look at it that way. So its tendencies, like the subtle, we have the gross body, the subtle body. The subtle body is being transformed with the soul. So the tendencies are trapped with the subtle body. So though we have left the gross body, the tendencies, the proclivity is all together with the subtle body. The mind, intelligence, and ego travels with us from life after life. So any other questions from anybody else? Sorry, I took up a bit of extra time. Karma is a very long topic to do justice. So next session, we will go in detail about how we can escape this, right? And a bit more about the karma aspect. We will revise some of the topics we've discussed today as well.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Okay. Thank you very much. So not many questions today. Right. So if there are no questions, then we can end. I'll see you all again next week. There's a quiz. Please have a look at the quiz. It helps you to focus on the key points that we have discussed. If you have the time, it just takes a few minutes only. I'll send it after this.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you,
Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. See you all. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Bhagavad Gita ki jai.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.